What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Mathamphetamine. Today we're going to be doing some straight line graphs. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So basically, for a straight line, there's always an equation that applies to all of them, which is, remember it, y equals mx plus c. Now you might be looking at that going, what the frick, James? That's just a bunch of random numbers. Well, you're wrong. Y means a y coordinate, which can change depending on what point on the graph it is. M is what's referred to as the gradient, which basically means how steep the graph is. We'll get into it in a minute, and I'll show you kind of what this means. X is an x coordinate. And C is what's called the y-intercept, which is basically what is the y value when the graph intercepts the y-axis. And using all of that, we can, if we know the gradient and we know the y-intercept, we can plot a straight line graph. There's also a note to take. When you're writing out the equation for a straight line graph, do not put the values for y or x in there. You'd put y equals whatever the gradient is, x plus whatever the y-intercept is, because these values always remain the same throughout the whole straight line graph. Its y-intercept will never change, and its gradient will never change, because it's a straight line. It doesn't go like, it will go, so it'll be one straight gradient. However, y, depending on what point on the graph you choose, can change, and x, depending on what point on the graph you choose, can change. So yeah, that might be a bit confusing now, but I'll show you an example now, and hopefully it will increase your understanding. Okay, so here's an example to show you how to sketch straight line graphs. So we've got the equation y equals 2x plus 1. Now, using our knowledge that y equals mx plus c, we know that 2 here must be m, so 2 is the gradient. And we also know that 1 is the c, so the y-intercept, which is c, must be 1. So straight away what we can do, if the y-intercept is 1, on the y-axis we can get 1, and put a point there at 0, the coordinates 0, 1. And the gradient is basically change in y over change in x. This triangle thing just means change in. So when the gradient goes across 1, no, when x increases by 1, y will increase by 2. So this will go across by 1 and then go up by 2 to go to the coordinates 1, 3. So now we've got 2 points. The great thing about sketching straight line graphs is you only need 2 points, and then you just basically put a line through both of them. So we line up our ruler so it goes through both points, and then just draw a big old line through them. And that is the graph y equals 2x plus 1. It's quite an easy topic, as you can see. So I'll show you an example, which you can do for yourself now, and I'll show you the answer. Okay, so we've got another example here. It's sketch y equals 3x minus 2. I'll let you do this at home. Pause the video now, and I'll show you the solution. Bash, let's get into it. So straight away, knowing y equals mx plus c, we know the y-intercept is minus 2, so we'll plot a point there. And if the gradient's 3, when it goes across 1 in x, it will go up 3 in y. So we'll go to 1 and then up to the coordinates 1, 1. And then what we can do is just put a straight line. It goes through both points. So yeah, that is the graph y equals 3x minus 2. As you can see, it's quite an easy topic. Once you know y equals mx plus c, you've pretty much got it on lock. So yeah, I'll go through kind of another type of question you could get from this, and yeah, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so here's another type of question they could ask you on the topic of straight lines. It could show you a straight line graph and ask, what is the equation of this graph or this line or whatever? So first thing we're going to do is find the y-intercept. As you can see, it goes through -4 on the y-axis, so it will be y equals mx -4. Then next, because you don't need, for the equation, you don't need to know the y and you don't need to know the x. You just need to know the gradient and the y-intercept. So we've got the y-intercept, now we need the gradient. So when this graph moves from 0x to 1x, it goes from -4y to -2.5y. So as you can see, it's gone up 1.5 when it's gone across 1. So the gradient would be 1.5. So our answer would be y equals 1.5x -4. So I'll probably give you an example of a question like this now that you can do at home, and I'll show you the right answer. And then there's one more type of question that they could give you. I'll show you. Okay, so here's another example of a question you might get where you have to identify the equation of the graph. I'll give you a minute to do it at home. Pause the video now, and I'll go through the solution in this couple seconds. Dash. Okay, so obviously straight line, so we know it's going to be y equals mx plus c. C y-intercept is 3, so it's y equals mx plus 3. Now you might notice there's something a bit different about this graph. Instead of going this way, it's going that way. So as you can see, when it goes across 1 on the x-axis, it actually goes down 1 on the y-axis. So as we know, gradient's change in y over change in x. So change in y is -1. Change in x is 1. So that would actually give us a gradient of -1. It's got a negative gradient. If a graph goes like this shape, it's got a negative gradient if it's going downhill. If it's going uphill, then it's got a positive gradient. But this one is going downwards, downhill slope. It's a negative gradient that we just worked out was -1. So the equation would be y equals -1x plus 3. Well done if you got that one, because that one was quite tricky. So I'll show you one more type of question they can do, and yeah. Okay, so we've got another type of question here. The straight line goes through the points, coordinates -1, 2, and also 3, 8. What is its equation? And you might look at this and go, what the actual heck is going on here? But I'm going to show you. If you might, in an exam, there's no issue in just like sketching a quick example just to help you visualize it. Say if this, I don't know, this point here is -1, 2, and this point here is 3, 8. Because we know the straight line goes through both of them. What we're trying to work out is the y-intercept and the gradient. So if we work out the gradient first, gradient, as we know, is change in y over change in x. So all we need to work out is the change in y from these points and divide it by the change in x of these points. And bosh, we've got the gradient. So the change in y, so it starts at 2, because remember the second part of the coordinate is always the y. So it starts at 2 and goes up to 8, so that would be a change in y of 6. Change in x would go, so it goes from -1 to 3, so that'd be a change in x of 4. So 6 divided by 4 will simplify down to 1.5. So that will give us the gradient 1.5, so the equation so far is y equals 1.5x plus c. However, we also need to work out the y-intercept, because as you know, when finding the equation for a straight line graph, we need to work out the gradient and the y-intercept. So what we can now do is plug in these coordinates into that equation. So 8 here is a y coordinate, so we can just plug that in there. So 8 equals 1.5 times the x coordinate of the same pair of coordinates, which would be 3, plus c. And then, so we can times them together, so it'd be 8 equals 1.5 times 3, which would be 4.5, plus c. And then we can rearrange to get c on its own. So if we minus 4.5 from both sides, it would be c equals 8 minus 4.5, which is 3.5. So now we can sub that back into the equation, so we'll get y equals 1.5 x plus 3.5. So yeah, that's how you do a question like that. I'll give you an example that you can do at home, and then I'll show you the solution. Okay, so we've got a final example here. If you can't read it, a straight line goes through the points 1, 3, and 3 minus 1. What is its equation? So pause the video now, try and do it yourself if you want to, and I'll show you the solution in a couple of seconds. Easy dub. So first of all, obviously it's a straight line, so it's y equals mx plus c. We're going to start off by finding the gradient, m, which is, as we know, I'll write it one more time, change in y over change in x. So the change in x here goes from 1 to 3, so the change in x would be 2. And then the change in y, it goes from 3 to minus 1, which is a change of minus 4. And minus 4 divided by 2 would be minus 2. So we'd have the equation so far, y equals minus 2x plus c. And then we can sub in the coordinates from one of the pairs of coordinates. We'll do this one, just, I don't know, you do that one as well, it doesn't really matter. As long as you use the x coordinate and the y coordinate of that one, and or the x coordinate and the y coordinate of that one. Don't go the x coordinate of this one and the y coordinate of that one. So we use this one, so the y is 3. 3 equals minus 2 times 1 plus c. So that'd be 3 equals minus 2 plus c. And then if we add 2 on both sides, we get c equals 5. So then we sub 5 back into this equation here to get the final answer of y equals minus 2x plus 5. So yeah, if you got that right, you've done it. Sick one. I'm sorry if you can hear the rain. It is teeming it down at the moment. But yeah, I'll go through everything in the conclusion. So yeah. Wow, what a great video on the Mathamphetamine channel. Yeah, the next upload should be out Wednesday or Thursday, and it'll be parallel and perpendicular lines, which kind of links into this topic. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do leave a like, please do leave a sub, and I'll see you out next time, guys. Love ya!